Bring in from Washington, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, founding member of the Council for Emerging National Security Affairs, also known as CENSA, and author of Defeating Jihad. Dr. Gorka, always good to see you. Weigh in here. Does this look and feel like terrorism to you?
Good morning, Maria. Well, we always have to be very cautious in the initial stages of any such incident. Sometimes it can take weeks, if not months, to find out exactly what happened. But let's just look at the facts, at the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. This is an aircraft that originated its flight in Paris that was heading towards Cairo. These two nations, Egypt and France, are very important from the point of view of jihadis. We've had two attacks in Paris in the last year. We've had Egypt is the home to an ISIS affiliate called Bait al-Maqdisi. Egypt is one of the top priority targets for ISIS in the region, number one. Number two, this plane was traveling at a cruising altitude of 37,000 feet. That is very, very high for such an event like this to occur if it was just an accident, no weather involved at all. On top of that, the reports are air traffic control in Greece lost contact with this aircraft and went silent, and as a result we heard nothing about it until it dropped off the radar of Egyptian air traffic control. That means either two things: a catastrophic failure of some mechanical nature, which is very rare. The A320, as you've mentioned, is a very reliable airframe. This particular plane is just 12 years old, which is nothing in terms of aircraft longevity. Or the other possibility is a terrorist attack, some kind of explosive. So if you add all those things together, and lastly, the fact that the manifest for this aircraft saw that it went to all kinds of airports in the last few days, to Brussels, to Tunis, to Eritrea, to Luxor. Many of these airports are not airports that are in the Western standard of security screening. So put all those things together, Maria, it is very suspicious.
So you're saying because this plane had gone through so many different international airports, something could have been transported on that plane. We should point out that witnesses on the ground said that they saw fire in the sky, as if suggesting it could have been an explosion. But what do you make of the fact that the plane was so close to landing, Sebastian? It was close to landing in Cairo, 30 minutes away from landing. Why then in the journey that we see perhaps this fire or some explosion take place?
Well, let's remember that terrorism at its core is about the spread of fear. Terrorists want as many people afraid as possible. To that end, they want symbolism. Look at 9/11. They hit the Twin Towers. They hit the Pentagon. Their third target wasn't the White House. It was the Capitol. That's symbolism to generate fear. If you want to send a message to General Sisi, to President Sisi, who is one of the hardest anti-jihadis in the region, it's really him and King Abdullah of Jordan that are the front line of this war against the jihadis. You want this plane to go down in Egyptian airspace. You don't want it to disappear like the Malaysian jet. You want to send a message. So if this is jihadi terrorism, they really would have waited until they send a message to the government in Cairo.
So, Sebastian, Bob Nardelli here. You make an excellent point. You got 6,700 airframes on the A320, good reliability. I have flown on them myself, and most of these seem to be international events. You mentioned the Western standards. What are some of the biggest things they should be doing over there to try to mitigate these kinds of problems with these flights?
Wow, where to begin? We've had recent reports in Egypt itself of somebody just paying $20 to get through all the security checkpoints without being checked and putting a baggage on an aircraft that wasn't screened. So the question is access to the airframe and the vetting of ground staff. That's hugely important. We check manifests. We have the TTIC. We have a terrorist an ID checklist, if you will, of manifests in Europe, in the U.S. But it's the ground crew that is a giant black hole. If you're landing in Africa, in Eritrea, what guarantee do you have that the person bringing, the coffee grind on board the plane is cleared and is a trustworthy agent?
Yeah, actually, there were reports earlier that there were some members who worked at the airport who were on terror watch lists, obviously. We've been reporting that all morning and for months now. Sebastian, we're about to go to a press conference in Egypt to hear what officials know. What do you think is most important that we want to get from these officials as we go to the conference momentarily?
We want to get the information of what data was being sent or not being sent automatically from the plane or by human beings in the last moments. Right. That is the most important thing right now.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka, thanks very much for your insights. We appreciate it. Breaking